If you are not ready to work, hustle, kill, then please leave.
Here we go.
All right, welcome to the Savage Excellence Podcast, everyone. Here we aim to make fucking savages that are just fucking animals, chasing and pursuing their goals with just relentless effort and thirst for success. Yeah. So, without further ado, let's fucking get into it. This would be a good one right here.
Yeah.
How you doing, dude?
Pretty good, bro. Had a...
It's simultaneous. Just boom.
Had a very long but good week. It's filled with a lot of... And like the last, honestly, 2 weeks have been like just full of like a lot of like learning opportunities.
Yeah. I hear that. What's been like the biggest things you feel like you've been faced with this week to learn from?
I think it's kind of been like maybe a touch on the side, because like it's more like you get in your head, right? Especially as like entrepreneurs. And I was talking about this earlier, but like the biggest thing, right, is when you're starting out, you're gonna deal with like these highs, like ups and downs. And the biggest thing like I've been dealing with is like, all right, that mental side of like, all right, well, do I have enough to pay bills this month? Do I have enough to, you know, reinvest in my business? And it's really easy for, I feel like, you know, the devil to, you know, use those thoughts and put those thoughts in your head to try to basically get you paranoid and worried about that so you don't actually achieve your goals.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
How do you think like abundance mindset like kind of influences like your life?
I think the second you let yourself go into like that lack mindset is the second where everything just kind of starts to spiral down the drain. That's like what I've always noticed. Whenever I was still working for Verizon full time and was doing this on the side, I remember I just kept having like shit happen at work just over and over and over. And I just felt like I kept getting signs and signs that like this just wasn't where I was meant to be. Mm-hmm. And then there's just one day I was at the gym and I got a call from work about some bullshit like that they needed me to like take care of or something like while I was training. And if there's anything I can't stand, it's like getting work calls while I'm training.
Oh, it's the worst.
Oh my gosh, I can't stand it. But after I got that call, I was just like, you know what, that's it. This is it. I'm done. Like clearly this is just not where I'm meant to be. And I honestly just can't take another second of working for someone else.
Yeah.
So I literally finished up that training session, drove straight to work and put in my 2 weeks. Like,
yeah.
And like just burned the bridges because I went into it with a abundance mindset of I'm going to make this work no matter what. Mm-hmm. Instead of like a lack mindset of, you know, like most people that would do that would start just like, I don't know, maybe cutting out everything, which I cut out like a fair amount of things I was paying for that like maybe I didn't need.
Right.
But it wasn't something where like I was so obsessive to where like I still bought myself energy drinks. I still bought myself things like that I'd want maybe here and there. Mm-hmm. I don't really ever buy things too much that I just like don't really need. Like I'm not really one for clutter.
Right.
You know what I mean? Pretty minimal. But because I just knew like if I was constantly obsessed over like saving the absolute penny on everything, like I just kind of feel like I would shift to that mindset where it's like I'm thinking about what I'm lacking instead of like kind of like that mindset I was telling you about where I'm already rich.
Right.
Whereas like I'm not stressing because I know I'm going to make this work.
I think you inspired me to do that because, you know, we both made this decision, right? Like I quit my job and I just knew it was for the better. Like I had been making like decent money and it was, don't get me wrong, I didn't love my job, but it wasn't the worst. Like you probably had like a lot worse like situations where that just like were pissing you off all the time. And I could have probably stayed with my job with like another year or so, but it was more the idea of like, I need to force myself in this position to grow because if I don't, like, when am I going to actually make this first step of, you know, going after what I want to go after? And, you know, I'm 19 years old and I'm living my dream life, even though I might be having lots of stress, like stress is included with that.
Yeah.
People don't realize that, like, at whatever level you're at, like, no matter what you're doing, you're going to have stress in your life. You can't just be like, all right, I'm rich now, I don't have stress. Mm-hmm. I'm sure I'm going to have way worse problems.
I'd rather stress out about things to that are over building my own empire rather than work shit that's for someone else. I can't stand that. Kind of trying to like clock in. I was not someone that was meant to work 9 to 5 for someone. Like, dude, I'll be honest, almost every job I've had, I came close to being fired in. Like,
Really?
because it's just not even necessarily like for bad things, but just like I said, I'm just not someone that's built for it.
Yeah.
For 9 to 5. Like, I want to be in charge of my own thing. I want to be making the calls and decisions for my own company. I can't, like, I just can't stand that business corporate mentality of kind of almost like manipulating people to, like, for example, like at Verizon, we would have these like phones on display that were like constantly charged.
Yeah.
And after a certain amount of time, we would take them off the display after they're being charged 24/7 for like maybe 1 or 2 years straight, and we'd sell them as a brand new phone.
Oh,
Like
dog,
just
yeah.
shitty stuff like that. I'm like, you know, I just don't want anything to do with this.
Yeah.
But since I've gotten full time in this, dude, like, kind of like you said, new levels, there's just new levels, and with new levels, there's new devils. So with taking on this thing, you know, a lot of people think coaching is like just this wonderful thing that's just no like stress. Like, you just get to coach people and make money off it and work from home and do whatever the fuck you want, which is a part of it. That's like a big, awesome thing with coaching. But dude, you have to have like 6 different jobs to run one job.
Yeah. It's
You know,
insane.
It's a
I'm
lot.
starting to realize that now. Like,
Seriously.
it's so much.
And honestly, like, coaching isn't even like, coaching is probably like one of the easiest business places you can do, because all we really need is a computer. Like, we don't have a whole product, we don't have a building, like, we don't have all that. So like, honestly, I salute a lot of other business owners that are like doing all that shit. I'm like, fuck that.
Yeah.
But yeah, dude, but still, like, even with all this extra stress, it's all worth it. It's all worth it, because whenever you see your athletes win and you get those wins, like, it just revitalizes you. It's so worth it.
Yeah. Yeah, I would say the same thing, like, when it comes to the abundance mindset. Like, I really had to take a deeper look into myself, like, over these past couple of weeks, like, with just realizing that, like this is all for, you know, a certain goal. This is all for a certain purpose. Like, realizing that, you know, I have so many beautiful things in front of me. And I think it's partly gratitude too. Like, the abundance mindset with gratitude goes hand in hand, because it's like you're looking at that glass half full rather than half empty. You know what I mean? Stop looking at all the problems that you have in your life as bad things, but maybe things to grow from.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Before we get like too into this podcast, just for the listeners too, like, the main thing we want to cover in this episode is mindsets that are necessary for success in life. So this being probably the pinnacle of all of them is abundance over lack. And we've kind of touched on it a little bit in other episodes, where abundance, you just need to become like at least aware of all of the gratitudes, blessings, opportunities, areas of growth, etc. that you have in life, instead of lack, whereas you're only seeing things out of what you don't have, a victim mindset, how everyone is out to get you, etc. And I really feel like a lot of people nowadays are in that lack mindset.
Yeah.
Whereas you can be in an abundance mindset at any point.
Yeah.
You can have fucking stage 4 cancer and still have an abundance mindset.
Yeah.
Because you can ask yourself, like, what is God trying to teach me from this?
Yeah.
How is he using me to help teach others to learn and live their best life possible?
Yeah.
Like, you can have the worst of the worst situations and still look at the positive.
Yeah.
Which, if you always look at the positive, like, bro, you can't lose.
Yeah. I think I literally had a realization last night, because you're talking about, like, lack, you know, the lack and the lack of mindset and the victim role, like the victim mindset. Like, I think it's easy for a lot of people to slip into that, where it's like you get like maybe emotional about some issue that doesn't really matter that much, and it's maybe a culmination of all the stress that you haven't really, you know, maybe assessed or actually expressed. And so I think, you know, for me, like a couple of those things were kind of building up, and it wasn't a really big deal, but it was like, because of all these small stressors, like, I just need to do a better job at like expressing that kind of stuff and understanding, all right, like, let me take a step back. And I took a step back in the moment, because I was just like, I started having all these thoughts that were being put in my head by the devil, where it was like, It's like, all right, bro, like you don't have enough money for rent this month. You don't have enough money for, go on this trip with this weekend. You don't have enough money to do all these things, and you're worrying about, trying to buy supplements, and you're worrying about all this other stuff that, doesn't matter. And so it's like it's really easy to get in your head. And I noticed it like last night, and I was like, all right, I just gotta stop this, bro. Like, let me take a step back and realize like this is not like the truth, bro. Like this is like that. It's the thing. It's the thoughts that I put in your head to make you worry and not move forward.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It keeps you at that level.
Yeah.
And then it eventually just wears on you and brings you down.
Yeah. Might as well share what I've been kind of going through.
Yeah.
In the podcast.
Dude. Yeah. Might as well, dude.
At first, it was something I was going to kind of keep just to myself because I feel like, I don't know, I just want really everyone in my business all the time. But I think it's something that could potentially help others because I want to like be open where just because we talk about like abundance and lack, it's not like we just never fall into lack. Like we all go through lack. We're not going to always be perfect in a mindset of abundance. But I was faced and currently am facing probably one of the hardest things I've had to go through in probably ever is heart problems run in my family. And I've known I've had like some heart problems for the past like couple years through like, I have like some heart palpitations, stuff like that, which just runs in the family. So I didn't really think too much of it. But also, especially like as men and just everyone in our family, we kind of tend to not say anything because I knew as I was having problems that if I went to the doctor, they're going to tell me something I don't want to hear. So I just kept it quiet.
Yeah.
Even though like there was a voice in me that's like, dude, this is not normal.
Right.
You need to go fucking see someone. I was like, no, it's all right.
Yeah.
But fast forward a few years later, I know we've talked about like how we smoke THC or we experiment with like caffeine, PEDs, mushrooms, stuff like that. And I just really noticed that, especially over the past like year and a half, every time I smoke, it's kind of like a dice roll where I either have like a phenomenal workout or I just get anxious as fuck and just have like more palpitations, stuff like that. And a lot of my anxiety stems from like around my heart where it's like, fuck, I hope it's still beating.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just like that impending sense of doom of like, I don't feel like I may be dying, but I'm like about to die very soon. But more recently, I've been noticing more and more symptoms past just like palpitations of more like chest pain, like sharp chest pain, or now more recently, like a really big shortness of breath. Like I can just not take a deep breath and feel like I'm taking a deep breath. And so I decided, I was like talking with our coach Nick about this. I'm like, dude, I just feel like I'm tired of shit all the time. Like I can't breathe well. I'm getting these palpitations, chest pains, like all this shit. And he was like maybe suggesting sleep apnea to get a sleep test done. And I was like, yeah, that's not a bad idea. But currently, since I went full time, I don't have health insurance. So I didn't want to go and pay full price for a sleep test.
Yeah.
So I just went to a neighborhood clinic here to get a physical done and kind of told them what I was feeling, stuff like that. And they decided to run an ECG and came back with the results of saying that I had a like ST elevation, which
What's that mean?
honestly I have no fucking clue.
Yeah.
But basically like my P wave is not showing on, from what I could tell, they told me like I just literally don't have like a P wave right now in my heartbeat, and then I have an ST elevation. But I've had that same kind of heartbeat rhythm for like the past several years. So it's not like necessarily new, but the symptoms are new, which is more alarming.
Right.
And she said, based off of the heart rate I had on the results, I'm basically like at risk for a potential heart attack, which is not the news you want to hear as a 23-year-old.
No.
But because as a 23-year-old, your heart basically hasn't built up the necessary blood vessels around it to like withstand a heart attack. So if you do have one, you're pretty much one and done.
Yeah.
Which is terrifying. Like it didn't even like set into me really at first. I was just kind of like speechless. I was just like, okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I went and sat in my car and I fucking broke down. Like,
Yeah.
seriously. And it wasn't even honestly necessarily like around my heart. It was more about like, what does this mean for me in bodybuilding?
Yeah.
Because like being at risk for something like that already, that like I can't, like I pretty much just can't take caffeine, at least at all right now. I can't smoke at all. I can't really push PEDs anymore. Like I'm just coming back down to TRT. And given like all of those things, I also can't train nearly as hard as I used to, because I also have a really low heart rate. So if I like bear down like on a heavy ass hack squat, it can potentially slow my heart rate more because I have a what's called like a bradycardia. Brady basically means slow. My resting heart rate laying down was like 42, which has always been like that, honestly.
Yeah,
like it can come
it's
down
a
to
little
30,
low, yeah.
It can come down to 30s when I sleep.
Jeez.
So they're saying like if you bear down and like if your heart rate gets like any slower, like you can be like toast.
Jeez.
So between all of that, like I'm pretty much being told like I can't push PEDs, I can't take caffeine, I can't do all this shit I was doing, I can't train hard. And just between all of that, dude, I just like broke down in my car. I'm just like, becoming a pro is going to be significantly harder to obtain. I can't fucking train hard, at least to how hard I want to train, because that's like my release, bro. You know what I mean? Like, you know how hard it is to go into your gym and just have to like hold back the whole time? This shit's so annoying. But not to mention like I already have like anxiety already as a person. Like anxiety runs in our family. So to someone that already has just like the anxiety already, being told like you could potentially die at any second and we don't know why,
Like that's
like perfect. You know what I mean? So between all that, going to sleep, like restful sleep is just like not a thing. Between the anxiety and not being able to take deep breaths, my heart's not like pumping blood properly to where it's like not getting oxygen to my brain all the time. So I just have like this constant brain fog. And it's just like this entire mix of things that's, my life is kind of just like, I don't even know what the fuck's happening.
Yeah.
So I'm trying my best right now to not be in a state of lack, which is extremely fucking hard right now.
Yeah.
And trying to look at the positives of like, what is God trying to teach me from this experience of, you know, I used to pray to God a lot. I still pray to God a lot in terms of wanting to be the most righteous man possible. And I really want to become a man that has zero vices.
Yeah.
So like, I don't want any external substances that basically help me get through life.
Yeah.
Like caffeine, weed, anything like that. I want to be able to just face life head on. And that's not easy to do. Like, I don't really know anyone that really does that.
Yeah.
Like zero. So I feel like this could be something that he's given me as a challenge to like obtain that. And really just kind of focus, maybe just like rekindle my appreciation for life. Even of like not taking everything for gratitude around me, to really like, hey, this can be all gone in a second.
Right.
And that's really opened up my eyes. Like on my walks, I'm just looking around of like, damn, this shit's more beautiful than I realize. And I even thought like, I start my walks out of gratitude, like looking around like, man, this is God's beautiful green earth. And like I always start my walks just like in prayer, but especially now, like being in this position, it's just like, I'm just really trying to appreciate it. Like even you know what I mean? It's like, I'm just really thankful to have people in my life like you. You know what I mean?
I appreciate it, bro.
But that's just kind of some shit I've been kind of going through in terms of lack, where, you know, we're not perfect and we're still trying to seek abundance even through times that seems like it's impossible.
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of people can benefit from hearing that kind of stuff, just because, you know, whatever it is that they're going through in life, like, I mean, there's so many people going through things, right? Like everyone has something they're going through. Like you got your things, I got my things. Like everyone has this stuff, and being able to look at the positive, it's a very hard thing, but it's a very mature thing, and it really helps people grow. It's like, you can't just say you want things and you want these goals to happen if you're not willing to change that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And, you know, it may be as simple as just like wanting to be a better man, wanting to be a better person. Like, and then like being specific about it. Like, you want to be with someone, you want to be someone without vices. Like, maybe this is, like you said, God's way of showing you that. But you have to take that step of being appreciative and of being like, having that abundance first.
Mm. Yeah. Just even, it's going to make me appreciate being able to train hard again after I get through this.
Yeah. And think about the redemption, like I was saying before, bro. Like, this could be something that, this could be like a legendary story.
Yeah, it's part of the lore.
Yeah, exactly, bro. It adds to the charisma. But, yeah, I think kind of moving on from that,
right.
We've kind of touched pretty well on that. But I think, you know, like we said, we were talking about gratitude, we were talking about abundance. What's like another area that you think, as far as mindset goes, maybe being like successful, that maybe people go through, maybe challenges, maybe something that has helped you overcome challenges?
Well, I would just say being able to adapt, like at any point, no matter what your circumstances are, being able to adapt and not make excuses for whatever your certain goal is. Like COVID, like that we had. A lot of people had a choice to either adapt or fall behind. And you saw like a lot of businesses closed down because they weren't able to adapt. Some businesses flourished even more.
Yeah.
How I can kind of like relate that with my own fitness is Iron Physique closed for a good period during COVID. So luckily enough, I had a bench already at home, but I didn't make the excuse of, oh, well, the gym's closed, I guess I can't work out. You know what I mean? No, you get your ass downstairs and fucking work out. Even if you don't have a bench, go buy some dumbbells, do some body weight shit. Like, I feel like so many people, like, they get faced with one obstacle and they just, like, throw in the towel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Dude, I was thinking about this, bro. So, did you ever read that book, what was it? Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill?
No, I've heard of it, though.
Dude, that's such a good book. So, it's, I mean, essentially I'll break it down, is like Napoleon is talking to, like, the devil, right? And it's, you know, it's like an interview with the devil and how he gets people to drift down to hell with him. And like, his hell is not, you know, afterlife, but it's actually here on earth when it comes to people like just drifting through their lives. And so he talks about how, like, you know, I think it was like, I don't know what the statistic was, but it was like 10,000 people might try, but only like 1% of that 10,000 tries like a second time. And then there's like, I think it's even less, that like it's like 1/10,000th of that like tries like a third time. And it's like that simple like trick of like literally putting laziness in our mind, or just like that what's the word, complacency in people's minds is what literally diminishes people's like dreams.
Yeah.
Because they don't want to try more than once. They don't put the constant effort in.
Right. They just get comfortable.
Do you think it takes people like some sort of like thing that happens to them in their lives that makes them change when it comes to having that mindset change? Or do you think it's something that's like you have to force yourself into that position? It's
a good one. I think it either stems from like an experience that really opens someone's eyes, or it comes from an extreme amount of pain that someone makes a decision that they can no longer endure that pain and they have to make a change. Yeah. And I know, like, for me, there was a period in my life where I got complacent and was falling into like sin in pretty much all areas of my life back when I was like maybe like 19, something like that, where I was with a coach for some time, but I started like missing meals, stuff like that, kind of just like one thing after another, and eventually just quit the program because I wasn't following through on my end. And like every athlete I work with, it's like I get where they are because like I've been there.
Yeah.
And I wish I could just like shake them because it was a simple decision of like no more.
Right.
And then like it all fucking changed. Where I went about a year after I stopped working with them, and I still stayed like, I maybe ate like 3 clean meals, 2 dirty meals.
Yeah.
And then I'd go to the gym, just kind of do whatever the fuck I felt like, got a pump and left. My room was a fucking mess, didn't do my dishes, you know, like you fucking name it, just lived in sloth in every sin you could possibly think of. But after a year of that, I just kind of like looked at myself, I'm like, dog, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, you are pathetic.
Yeah.
Like, literally I was disgusted by myself. Even though, like, I was still going to the gym and stuff like that, like, it was so below what I knew I was capable of. And I hated that feeling. And I was like, you know what? No longer. So I called him up again, my coach, and this was Jordan at the time.
Really?
And I was like, dude, I'm so sorry for the way I treated you. Like, you did not deserve that. And if like you would be okay with that, like, I'd love to come back on, and I'm going to give you my 100% effort. Thankfully enough, he took me on, and I gave him my best effort. I was arguably probably one of his most committed athletes, and we ended up doing a show like a year later, and that was the most recent one, that one, where, dude, I just became a fucking animal in that prep. Like, I did everything fucking perfectly, like to a T. And I think like a big part of the Savage Excellence mindset came from that prep. And I think it's so sick. That's like a big reason why I love prepping, is because I just feel like you just 10x as a human every time you prep. But after going through that, man, I just did not want to look back to what I was before. And thank God I had friends in my life that were kind of like modeling certain habits I needed to start keeping up with better. Like my buddy Shane, he's super good. Shane Sumner, that was honest with our trip. Dude, super like organized, clean, stuff like that. And I really tried to take on that habit that he had, because we want to talk about like habit building. And one of the big tips I tried to, like, great pieces of advice I took from someone, I don't remember where it was, but you want to essentially take like the best out of people and leave the bad. So like something I tried to see in him was like, he has these great habits in organization, cleanliness that I don't have. So I tried to start modeling those. And now I just made it a fucking habit to where I just do my fucking dishes. Do not let your dishes sit in that sink more than 24 hours. Start making your fucking bed every single morning. Do not miss. And once I just did it, just fucking did it, instead of making excuses, it just became a habit. Like after 4-6 months, now I just do it. Like I don't even think about like, oh, I have to fucking make my bed. I'm like, I just fucking do it. And then once you do it, then it's like, you just have that more respect for yourself of like, I'm actually doing the things, I'm a mature adult and not being a fucking child. So I think those habit buildings, like people make it so much harder than it needs to be. Whereas if you just, like when it really comes down to it, people are like, how can I do this? How can I do that? I'm like, bro, you just have to fucking do it. Like it's not rocket science.
I think when people constantly live in an environment of where it's like they don't have any structure to their lives, like those are the people that ask the dumb questions, the people that are, I don't want to say, I don't want to like call people dumb, but it's like you want to see what an NPC eventually like what someone like you want to see what an NPC is. It stems from a person that literally doesn't have any sort of structure to their lives. You know, they might go to work, they might work, but that's the only structure they have. They're doing a bunch of random things throughout their day. They don't have a consistent morning routine. They check their phone immediately when they wake up one day, and then the next day they go for a run, and maybe the next day they watch they wake up way late and they miss, they're late for work. It's like that constant like just nothing going on, where it's just like the complete randomness is what destroys a person, right? It destroys people's potential. But getting into habits, like I think the biggest thing you have to learn, and that I've learned when it comes to building habits, because I spent fucking a year on just developing habit, like a year and a half, maybe even 2 years, like now, on just developing habits, because I was like, before I just try to become this person, like I have to realize, like I have to literally change my identity. Like I'm no longer like 17-year-old Will, 16-year-old Will.
Right.
Like I fucking imagine like I'm this 25, 30-year-old guy that's successful. It's like I have to put myself in that position where it's like, that's my identity. I'm not a 19-year-old. I don't have expectations that I'm a 19-year-old. Like most people like will have the expectations like, oh, like they're like age, like that age that you're at is what determines you. It's like, no, you have to put your identity in someone, like a future version of yourself's shoes.
Yeah.
And so that was like a big thing for me, is like literally changing my identity, and it formed all my habits. You know, what would 25-year-old Will do? What would 30-year-old Will do?
Or not even like an age, but what would my best self do?
Yeah. Well, yeah, exactly. And it's like, I think age is like maybe too vague, but I think it works for me sometimes. Or, but yeah, like in general, just like what would the best version of myself do? Like, you know, that was like something for me. What was like, it helped me quit a lot of bad habits. It helped me build a lot of new ones, because I just looked at these other bad habits that I had stacked up, or it was just like a lot of them stemmed from laziness and and just sloth, right? Like those sins that you talked about. You know, I just realized that I literally just don't want to be like that.
Yeah.
It was like that realization, because like that's the thing, when you're switching your identity and the way you think about things, like that's what can truly just change, like literally change your personality in a sense, where it's like you're not a lazy person anymore. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of guys nowadays are kind of caught in that trap of sloth, lust, all these different sins, and they wonder why they can't. I say this as someone who doesn't have one, but they can't find like an actual woman that's interested in them to like have a relationship, and it's because like you haven't become someone that is worthy. Like if I was a woman and I saw a man like that, I'd be like, fuck no.
I'm running away. Yeah. Yeah. Get the
I
fuck
want a
away
man that
from me,
like stays to his word, is disciplined, works hard, like tries to be the most righteous man through God, etc. Like you want to become that man that is most righteous. I've been trying to ask myself as like, what would not even like my best self do, but what would my most righteous self do? What would God do?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that's a much more powerful one, because your best self is through God.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think it goes both ways. Like, you know, whether you're a guy or a girl, like, you know, you have to look for those qualities that you want to see in that partner. And if it's like, if you don't see those qualities in yourself first, how can you expect that from someone else?
Yeah. 100%.
You know what I mean? I'm not gonna, like, there's like, for me right now, like, you could even apply this in business. I can't just like, I'm not best friends with any billionaires. I don't have any qualities that I can give to them. You know what I mean? But I'm building myself up to that, be able to have that.
Right.
You know what I mean? I have people like you in my corner. I have people like Aiden in my corner, where it's like we think the same way. You know what I mean? And that's where it comes. That's where it comes, is like you're constantly growing. And kind of to dive back more into habits, like what were some of your like, maybe like when it comes to habits, what were some of the hardest ones to maybe put away, or what were some of the hardest ones to build up, do you think?
Well, this podcast for bodybuilders, right? Or just success driven, but I like to cater towards bodybuilders on here as bodybuilders.
Yep.
So I think some of the best habits you can possibly have is, one, having like a structured sleep routine, like a good nighttime and bedtime, or bedtime and wake time. 2 is staying prepared all the time.
Yeah.
I think a big contributor of someone who's successful is their ability to be prepared in terms of like their meals or their mind even.
Yeah.
Like you're going into your workout, like a lot of newbies that you see just don't go in there with like any game plan or structure or anything like that. And part of that is like being prepared for that workout. Or like supplements, having like some kind of weekly set out thing to where you can just take it and go instead of trying to like
Pill boxes, yeah.
Yeah.
They're awesome.
but more like maybe or like tracking your workouts, getting into that again, like another great way to be prepared for your next workout. So little things like that. But outside of maybe just like bodybuilder habits, I'd say like the hardest habits for me was definitely not looking at my phone right away. That was a really hard one. Gotten a lot better at that one. Just being cleaner and not just living in laziness all the time. And I think I'd say those are the biggest ones. I'd say the ones, and not being victim to lust. I think that's the hardest one, honestly, especially as like an enhanced bodybuilder.
Yeah.
I know 100%. We kind of talked about that before, but the biggest habits I'm trying to work on now is being very diligent with where my money is going, like knowing where it's going, like keeping track of like my budget every week. I like to live pretty on edge financially. I know we kind of talked about this, but I'm not afraid to spend money I maybe shouldn't be spending, as long as it's towards the right places.
And what would be a right place for you?
Something that goes directly back into myself. That's for personal development or some kind of gain out of myself. I rarely spend money for something like a new pair of shoes, to just have a new pair of shoes.
Right.
Like, I recently got new bodybuilding shoes because I needed them, and I set a goal. If I hit all of my goals in a month, I'd buy them. So like every now and then, sure.
Yeah.
But like you come into my house, like I don't even have a fucking TV in this bitch. Like it's pretty minimalistic. It's just what I need and nothing else. All of the rest of my money goes towards coaching, supplements, business coaching, development of business, or traveling trips that are also for business and just what I want to do to have fun.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much where all my money goes. I don't really I'm trying to build up more of savings, but for the most part, I think having a crazy big savings is also kind of overrated, in my opinion, especially as someone that hasn't quote unquote made it yet.
Yeah. So
it's like, I'm living financially on edge as much as I possibly fucking can until I have the excess money to have like savings. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because like that money in savings to me is just money that I could be putting into something to get me develop myself even more, to be making more money, to eventually have a bigger savings.
Exactly. So you're just getting in the habit of just tracking that kind of stuff.
But I want to know where it is, because I think it can also get easy to start spending things maybe like more nonchalantly that maybe you would think, like I still just want to know where my money's going.
Just think a little more diligent.
I just want to have like, I know where that went. Where instead of like, all right, pay, like credit card scan, tap to pay, tap to pay, tap to pay. Oh fuck, I have $1,300 on this fucking credit card.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah, exactly.
Where it's like, I know what to expect and I can plan it. So like, I know I'm gonna fucking eat for the month. But like, overall, I live pretty financially on edge to always be growing.
Yeah. Yeah,
what
that's
about
smart. For me, the hardest habits to build up, I think right away when I started with Nick, it was just like, all right, I gotta get back in the habit of like, consistently tracking meals. And, it took like, it was easy to get on it initially, but there was times where it was like, I wanted to be a little more, like, I want to be a lot better at it. Like in the long-term sense where it's like, all right, if I miss a meal, I'm not missing another meal. You know what I mean? So if like I miss, I'm not missing twice. And that was like one of the biggest things I learned from my habits book that I read, Atomic Habits, was you never want to miss twice with a habit. So it took me probably close to a year to kind of get that like a lot more dialed. I wouldn't say it's perfect because we can always be better, but it took me definitely a long time to get like that dialed. I think another one was.
What do you think was something that like was a changing point to help you get it dialed?
I think just realizing like I wanted this, like realizing how bad I wanted it. Like, I think it comes from time, right? It's like with bodybuilding and honestly anything you put more time into, it's like the more time you invested in it, the more you really, really just like want to make sure everything's dialed. Because it's like, well, where's that time going? You know what I mean? So I think whether it's your business or whether it's like just like a hobby or maybe like something you just want to give your whole life to, like, invest like as much time and, the more you invest that time, like the more you like realize like, all right, I got to make sure I'm on top of everything because I care about that. Like I'm not just an amateur anymore. I'm developing that professional mindset for that.
Right.
So like that's something that really helped me develop that and just get to that next level. And that's something I'm going through right now. Even like I turned 20 years old this year. Like I have to have a new standard for myself when it comes to bodybuilding just by itself. Obviously like business standards, all that other stuff, but like specifically bodybuilding, like there needs to be another standard on that, and that's kind of what I'm trying to work towards.
Yeah. Even just standards for just you.
Yeah. Exactly. Like I want to make sure that I'm on top of like all the basic stuff, right? And on top of all the other stuff that might not, matter if I miss one day, but it's like the consistency, the mindset of it, right? So like making sure I don't miss cardio, making sure I don't miss, a walk during the day, making sure I take every single supplement during the day and not missing once. It's gonna take time to develop that, but it's like I know that I can do it.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's more about like just developing the mindset, like I said, like that, like missing once or twice, and having 90% or 96% accuracy, it's gonna be fine. You're gonna look fucking great, right? But it's like literally being 100% and then doing more on top of that.
Yeah. I think a big turning point for me, for a lot of my habits, was I just made them a fucking non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Like, I am not going to bed until I get this shit complete.
Yeah. That's something where it's like, I need to get a little better at, like, with my time management. And I'm, I admit it, like, there's certain days, like, I'll be late to a live or something like that. Or, like, maybe I stay up too late, working on something because I need to get it done, and then I don't wake up the next day, like, on the same time.
Well, you can't ever be perfect all the time.
Right, exactly. And I think that's, I will say, like, on the other side of things, like, not letting, like, one mess up, like, absolutely just fuck you over. Because, like, that's one thing that, like, and I don't want to, like, dive too back into, because we've kind of talked about earlier, is, like, I feel like when you really get in your head about, like, messing something up, I was telling a buddy of ours this week who kind of messed something up with his coach, and he was just getting all worked up about it. I'm like, dude,
stressing over nothing.
You're stressing over nothing. Stop letting that affect you so much that it affects the way you operate on a daily basis. Like, understand it, learn the lesson, move on.
Literally, you just stressing over the fuck up you made is making that fuck up worse.
Yeah.
Like, your brain is a powerful thing.
Yeah.
And, like, if you, like, literally, your just psychology of stressing out over something is causing more cortisol increase that's going to negatively impact you more. So it's like, might as well just acknowledge your fuck up, don't let it happen twice, and just move forward.
Yeah.
Anything that happens, like, outside of your control, you can't control anyway, so there's no point in stressing over it.
Right. Yeah.
And just fucking move on.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't ever expect, even in the pros, I would argue none of the pros are 100% perfect at 100% of everything.
Right.
Like, even, like, Nick, he's not 100% with everything. No. He keeps a high fucking standard.
Yeah.
But, like, there's not a single fucking human on this earth that is 100% 100% of the time. Like, you got to just give yourself that relief of being a human and just move forward and just do the best with which you can all the time. And don't stress out over the shit you can't control. That's super important.
I know you kind of recently talked about this, but would you, like, I would say going along with that, like, I think when you started taking, like, those days for yourself, I think that, like, I started doing it too, like, this last couple of weeks, I've noticed, like, the stress, like, noticeably, like, less stress.
Yeah.
Because I'm, like, I realize, like, obviously, like, I'm shooting for the moon and the stars. Or I'm shooting for the stars and I'm landing, like, I'm shooting for the stars, but I'm landing on the moon, right? Because, when you have those standards so high, it's a good thing. But, like, also realizing, like, sometimes you need to take a step back. Like, how has that, like, affected the way that, like, you operate?
I don't really look at it as a step back. I think of it as, like, Monday through Saturday, I'm pouring as much energy as I can into my business. Sunday, I pour as much energy into myself as I can so I can repeat the process.
It's a good way of looking at it. I like that. Yeah.
Because if you're constantly pouring yourself out into something without pouring back into yourself, you're eventually going to run dry. You're going to have to make up for that somehow, or else your body will make up for it for you. Like, you'll physically get sick.
Yeah.
Like, if you just keep pushing it and pushing and pushing, like, your body's going to find that balance for you.
I was listening to a podcast last night. I kind of wanted to talk about, like, how it was talking about how, like, because it was I don't know if you listened to that. It was like Transparent with that Nile guy. Okay, so he had a neurologist on, like, talking about, like, brain chemistry and how, like, steroids can affect that kind of stuff, but also, like, talking about they dove into this huge thing where it was like a lot of successful people get in that area where it's like go 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 go, and they never give themselves time to rest. And it's just like what you said, like, burnout is a true thing, and I don't think it necessarily happens out. Like, you can have a really, really strong mindset, and sometimes your body will burn out before your mind does. Same with training, right?
And just to be clear too, like, most people aren't pushing themselves to that level.
No, most people aren't. But I think once you get to that level, you know.
Yeah, like, especially as coaches, where people are wanting things from you, like multiple people, or like if you're someone that's in management and you're having to give yourself to multiple other people all the time, it's really important that you take time to pour back into yourself and just kind of like disconnect from that for a little bit. Even just like, that's why, like, just 24 hours is all I need. And then just do stuff that I just want to fucking do. Like, go fishing, hang out with the boys, live stream some Minecraft, just fuck around. And, like, again, kind of like we said, like, I don't just do, like, nothing on stuff. Like, I don't just fucking lay on the couch with my, like, hand in my pants. You know what I mean? It's just like you're still doing non-negotiables. I might still work on maybe, like, a little bit of business stuff. I still get my 10K steps in. But once I have my non-negotiables done, then it's like, all right, I do whatever the fuck I want now.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I think that's super important. The way it's, like, I guess to answer your question, like, affected me is nothing but beneficial. It's honestly, like, the highlight of my week.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, dude, I just love my life. Like, every single day I either get to help build my brand, build myself, build my athletes, and then on Sundays I get to just hang out with my boys and chill and have fun. Like, it's awesome. Just 24/7 fun to me.
Yeah.
But
yeah. I mean, that pretty much goes over, like, everything I kind of had to talk about. Do you have any other kind of things you want to touch on?
I had a couple listed out. I want to see if we haven't touched on anything. So some mindsets I like to have.
Okay.
Is having the mindset of always trying to outwork everyone. I like to go into everything with the mindset of no one outworks me.
Right.
And if, like, I'm being realistic, that's not realistic. Like, I know people outwork me.
Yeah.
Because people just have more money, and because of that, they have more resources to outwork me. Like, fucking Alex Hormozy, you know, he's a millionaire. He has teams of teams doing work for him. Like, he's just 10xing my effort because of that.
100x,
But, like, I have the mindset that no one outworks me. And have that competitive mindset of, like, and when I say no one outworks me, I'm usually talking to myself.
It's not egotistical at all.
Yeah.
It's confidence.
But just like I just like to be competitive of, like, that's why I fucking love training with you guys. Is like, your job is to outwork me, and my job is to outwork you. So that we can constantly have growth in a growing standard.
Constant levels,
Yeah. I think that's more of like it doesn't have to be a competitive athlete thing, but I think it's more applicable to competitive athletes where, like, if you're in any kind of, like, competitive sport or environment, you should never be okay with someone working harder than you. I take that shit
I would even
personal.
argue in the business world too.
Oh, 100%. I take that shit personal. I'm like, you really think you can fucking outwork me? And I step aside. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's
Let me
just
do my set.
hold my pre-workout. Do you feel like you have any mindsets that you feel like you carry, like, specifically unique to yourself?
I mean, the biggest thing, that I've been really just, over the last year, is really just working on, like, that whole no excuses mindset. And that's a big part of my brand. You know, I have kind of the way I laid out my brain, all the, like the mantras behind it. Like PR stands for, like, obviously a PR in the gym or PR in life.
Personal record.
But also PR stands for passionate risk, and we've talked about that a little bit in the podcast.
Passionate what?
Passionate risk.
Passionate risk.
You're doing something because, and you might be risking something because you're passionate about it, right? Like you're truly passionate about bodybuilding or about changing your life, about creating this new identity. But the big thing that I haven't really talked about too much in the mantra is like that whole no excuses mindset, and it's something I kind of live by in as many areas of life as possible. Like I can always get better at it, but not making an excuse for, why for performance, right? Because they give you a way out, and they help, and they actually don't help you learn at all. Mm-hmm. They keep you in the same spot that you've always been in. And like my whole brand is about, literally growing physically and mentally. And if you're making excuses, you're not growing. Mm-hmm. So that's something where it's like, for me, that's a big way I live. It's a big mindset I have is, don't make excuses at all, and if I make an excuse, acknowledge that and don't make that again. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because it inhibits growth.
Yeah, 100%. The number one best mindset you can possibly have is the savage excellence mindset. No, I'm just fucking with you. But seriously, I think it's cool that we both kind of talk about like the mindset behind our brands.
Yeah, I think it's important.
I really like yours, like passionate risk. That comes a lot like around with PEDs. I feel like, like in bodybuilding. PEDs, I mean, like with anything, financially, right, whatever. But
or risking like your relationships, right? Like you're not.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Or maybe I know like sometimes I've risked family events I could have attended and prep, but passionately risked it for the prep. Mm-hmm. And I would, argue you shouldn't always do that. Keep that to a minimum. But sometimes you have to be okay with doing those kind of things. Mm-hmm. But kind of like a similar way, for me, savage excellence stemmed out of the mindset. Like, I think the mindset behind my brand isn't something that's like super. Like I don't have this huge, magnificent story to tell behind it or something like that. But it's very simple and direct. The savage, I feel like it stems into two different pieces. The savage part, it's like a yin and yang with each other. Yeah. Savage is being a fucking animal, no matter what it is. If it's in your training, in your daily life, the way that you're like a father, it's not just being like, like a rabid animal, but it's like, it's being a fucking animal of doing like what needs to be fucking done. Mm. And like in the training,
it might be ugly, it might be scary.
Fucking intensity is what it is. And then excellence is going that extra mile and executing whatever you need to execute with a fucking cross T and a dotted I and a period at the end. Mm-hmm. It gets done to a 100% job. Yep. That's honestly just savage excellence mentality to me, is just being a fucking animal and executing at the highest fucking degree possible. Yeah. That's really about it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I think that's all you need.
Yeah, it's important to have. Do you have any kind of final thoughts? Things that you may this week that you might want to give to the viewers?
If you want the best mindset possible, don't be a fucking bitch. That's about it.
Yeah.
Don't be a pussy.
That's fair enough.
Just fucking work your ass off and don't make excuses.
Yeah.
But other than that, fucking awesome episode. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Appreciate you guys tuning in.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace out, guys.